1 second. I couldn't find one of those things that like makes noise. I really wanted one, but I couldn't find one. So just imagine I have one. Happy New Year, Happy New Year. So it is a new year, and if you read the title, you know that we are doing a Filmmaker resolutions video today. Let's take this off. It's tight and uncomfortable. So the new year is a fantastic time to sit down, reflect on the past year, think about what you did well, think about what could be improved upon, and make resolutions for how you're going to do things better in the coming year. So I went on Instagram, YouTube, and in our Discord server, and I asked you guys, what do you think are some good filmmaking resolutions that everybody who follows my channel can try to follow this year. I asked you guys for stuff that you're going to be trying this year, or stuff that you have tried and it has worked and you would advise that other filmmakers try the same, and I thought of a few myself. So here are... How many are there? So here are 12 filmmaking resolutions for 2023. I'm going to kick things off with one that has really helped me, and this is stay organized. I know it's kind of like a generic, like, self-help trope at this point, but having your stuff together, knowing where everything is, having a system, particularly if you're somebody like me who really loves having systems and really loves having things organized, this is going to be really, really helpful for your productivity. I made some real strides towards this at the end of 2022 in terms of organizing all of my gear and everything, and I think I can do even better this year, and I would advise that you do the same. This applies to on-set organization as well, having a shot list and a schedule and running on schedule and knowing when things are happening and where and all of that. Filmmaking is not a purely artistic medium. It's kind of an interesting blend of like art and practicality. You know, you have to be artistic, but you also have to be pragmatic, and you have to have people who are very artistically minded and people with more practical instincts as well. And so while the artistic element is kind of obvious, the practical element is sometimes, I think, overlooked when you're running a film set. And that's where organization comes in super handy. So let's move on to the next one. Be grateful for the editing process and team. This is from AC Hathorn or Hawthorne. I'm sorry, I'm getting that name wrong. Probably I'm gonna go with Hathorn. From AC Hathorn on Instagram. This is great. If you're not the one editing your film yourself, be very, very grateful for whoever is. It's a difficult process. It's very time consuming, much more so than a lot of people realize. If you're working with an editor who wasn't there on set, make sure that you're very helpful and communicative. Communicative. This is where the organization thing comes in. If you're going to have an editor who isn't actually there on set, you definitely are going to want to run a slate, which is something we'll talk about in a little bit. Honestly, I would apply this even more broadly, like be grateful for the entire process. It's easy to get bogged down in the parts that you're doing, but film is an inherently collaborative medium, and there's a lot of people and a lot of work that goes into making things happen. So make sure that you just have a lot of appreciation for your crew and you're able to work together as a cohesive unit. Another one that I came up with is celebrate the little victories and take breaks. This is something that I always advise, especially if you're working on a huge project. The like mental and emotional toll of making a movie, particularly independently producing a movie, is not very talked about. There's a lot of expectation. There's a lot of reasons that making movies can be very, very stressful, particularly independently producing them. That's why I think it's very important to celebrate those little victories, take breaks, break your work up into smaller chunks. Sophie Cratter from our Discord server actually kind of put words into my mouth pretty perfectly here. She said, set small goals and complete them instead of getting overwhelmed by the finished product. Exactly. This is what got me through making One Night in Squatchtown. It's like a huge half-hour long movie. So I can't just wait to be happy with myself until the movie is done. This was a months-long process. You have to enjoy the little moments in between, particularly with editing. You have to be proud of yourself when you complete something and when you make strides. Ash on Instagram said, consume the media you want to create. Yeah, I think this is a really great one too. Watching more movies or reading more books, whatever. Being an audience member as often as possible gives you a really good idea of what audiences want, at least what your ideal audience might want. If you make something that would be exciting to you, then there is a market for it. It's you and people like you who have similar tastes. And so if you're watching and reading and consuming a lot of stuff that you really enjoy, you get a good idea of the techniques and nuances of the style and all of this kind of stuff. Definitely extremely important to consume the type of media that you want to be creating yourself. All right, here's one I wrote. Try something that you haven't tried. I try to do this pretty frequently. Last year we made a movie in 24 hours. I had never done that before, and we also made a vertical short film. I had never done that before. You don't have to do either of those things. things. You could do either of those things. I would honestly encourage it. That sounds awesome. But the most important thing is that you branch out in some sense. Created by Addie on Instagram, who is a great artist. She did our Squatchtown rap gifts. I actually put this one beside my desk so I could show you when I talk about her. She did our rap gifts for One Night in Squatchtown. This is the drawing that she did of me, Zoe, and AJ's characters in the movie. She did 2 other drawings, equally fantastic, super talented artist. Shout out, created by Addie. Follow her on Instagram. She's got a lot of great art. She said, just put your work out there. Your greatest critic is yourself. This is fantastic. A lot of people get really paralyzed by the idea of their work being seen by others, and I get it. Like, I still struggle to sit in a room and watch my work with other people. The more you watch it, you stop seeing the good things and you start only being able to see the flaws, and we really get trapped in that as artists and as filmmakers, and that's not how anybody else is gonna watch your movie. Generally, people are gonna go into it hoping to enjoy it, and they're probably going to enjoy it because they're gonna see all the stuff about it that's good. There's something to be said too, just to build on that, for like, when it's done, you know? At a certain point, you have to lock it in. You could work on a movie forever, and you could tweak forever, and it literally, you could do it for years and years and years and years. At a certain point, you just have to feel good enough about it, and you have to feel that it's perfect enough that it's ready to be seen by people, and then like I said, you gotta lock it in, and that's gotta be your movie. This is one I wrote: network with other filmmakers. One of the best things I did in 2022 was meet a lot of other filmmakers and network with them, you know, exchange information. Many of them I met at the All-American High School Film Festival, but you don't have to go to All-American, and you don't have to go anywhere to network in 2023. I know it's nerve-wracking and you can like feel weird doing it, but if there's somebody who you like really respect their work and you really admire what they do, just DM them on Instagram, you know, just reach out. It's something I've done before, to like reach out to people and let them know that I like their work. People in this whole like sphere of student filmmaking, at least with my experience, have been overwhelmingly just really, really great, kind people. This next one's from Etta G on Discord. Practice filmmaking skills wherever you can. Bring your camera on walks with you, edit together stock footage, think about screenplays. Those are just a few great examples of things that you could do, but yes, I agree. Practice your filmmaking skills. Just because you're not actively working on a film, just because you don't have a script to produce in front of you right now, doesn't mean that you can't be practicing your craft. Honestly, I feel like for me, these YouTube videos are very valuable practice. I get to like handle the gear and set this camera up, you know, and it's a little basic, and I'm basically doing the same thing every time, but it keeps me fresh, you know, it keeps me working with the gear pretty often, working with the lights pretty often, working with the microphone pretty often, editing fairly often, working with music and sound design and color, and it helps me make something. This isn't even a resolution on here, but I would like to mention it. For me at least, and I feel like for a lot of other filmmakers this is true, a feeling of completion is extremely important. I start to feel very bad about myself as a filmmaker the longer I go without like hitting export or without hitting upload on something and putting it out there for the world. Something great for me about YouTube is the fact that it gives me something to complete on the regular. And even though that's not a full short film, it gives me something, you know, small, like a little victory to celebrate, you know, something small to put out there and to be enjoyed by other people. Wyatt Goad on Insta said, learn how to write call sheets, run Slate, and supervise a script. I mentioned Slate a second ago, particularly if you're working with an editor who's not present on set, or if you've got a particularly big project that there's going to be a lot of footage and a lot of takes and a lot of different shots. Slates are very important. Also, slates are fun, and it makes you feel like a real professional filmmaker. Writing call sheets, yeah, wow. This is something I could work on. I mean, I work with a lot of my friends, to be fair. Sometimes it's just like a group chat, and it's like, hey, when are you guys free? That's how Squatchtown functioned, was mostly just group chats. There were not many call sheets for Squatchtown. I think there were for like the first couple weekends that we filmed, and then after that it was pretty much abandoned. And supervise a script, very important. Again, like there's videos going more in depth about what the role of a script supervisor is. On a really small production, it's fairly likely that you won't have a dedicated script supervisor, so you as the director or somebody on set, assistant director maybe, needs to kind of step in and do that role. It is pretty important for the sake of continuity and for the sake of making a good film. So yeah, all of those are really great, like practically minded filmmaking resolutions like we were talking about. Chandler Thornton on Instagram says, eat healthy foods on set. I love this one. Eating healthier is like kind of the classic New Year's resolution, and I think it's really funny that this is like a version version of that that's geared specifically towards filmmakers. Regardless, I think he's right about this. I mean, we tend to kind of condition ourselves and like associate junky foods with like laziness and not being very productive. So I mean, I can see you really kind of doing a dent in your productivity by like eating foods that make you feel less productive on set. Eating better has positive effects on not only on the body but on the mind. It helps you think a little bit more clearly. And it's funny that I'm saying any of this because we typically get pizza on my sets. So I never really thought about this, but that might be something good to try. Another one from Etta G on Discord saying, trust in your crew, even if they aren't as experienced as you, they have very valuable perspectives and ideas. This is great. I love this. And it's very, very true, particularly even if they're not as experienced as you. There will be people who will shock you, who have never been near a camera in their life, and they will just propose a shot that is like just so good. There were moments like this during Squatchtown. A really great example I could think of is my friend Michael. There were a couple of great shots in that movie that he thought of. And some great editing moments too. I forget exactly which moments in the edit, but people who you don't expect will kind of surprise you with their artistic like intuition. So yeah, always having an open mind and open ears and like being willing to hear people on set, even if they're not as experienced as you. Sometimes they will really, they'll really pop out some good ideas. And in a sort of similar vein, I'd like to lead us into the last one, which is create new filmmakers. This is something that I've kind of been doing since I started. In 8th grade, I asked my friend Mandy Baker if she wanted to be the assistant director on our short film, You Know She Likes You. She said yes. She assistant directed that film. She assistant directed the one after it, and then more after that, and more after that, and it just kept going. She originally kind of just showed up to like help me and to be a part of my crew and to be supportive, and I really appreciate that. But like, I've really watched her as I grow. I've really watched her grow. She's one of those people who at times will like really surprise you with super great artistic insight. She's got a good eye for shots, a good eye for color. She's an artist, so I guess it's not that surprising. And she's fantastic at kind of doing the assistant director thing and helping to run the set, keep us on schedule, keep us on task, helping us get from place to place. And all of that is stuff that she just learned from being on set on my movies. There are people you know who could be filmmakers. They just might not have been exposed to it yet. There are people who will certainly be interested in learning something new and learning how to make movies. And if you're somebody with more experience than them, you can play a really big role in helping them grow as a filmmaker. This, out of all of them, is actually the one that I want to emphasize for you guys. If you're gonna try one of these resolutions this year, it's this one: create new filmmakers. All right. That's what I got. Thank you so much for watching this video. We'll be back with another one next week. I'll see you in the next video. Until then, I'm Sam Morgan, and this is Pictures Up.